And good morning, I am Nick.
I'm Mindy.
And we are back discussing with you family discipleship. And today we're going to look specifically at intentional time.
Right, so that's one of the 4 pieces of the framework. And intentional time is sometimes the one that we get the most nervous about. We can as parents, but it's also very, very important because if we don't take intention, then nothing will happen. And so now that school is back in session, whether you're in public or private or homeschooling, and your routines are starting to settle in with schools and practices, now's the time to think through when is going to be the best time for our family to be intentional about studying God's Word together.
Yeah.
So there's some times of day to think through. So you might want to think about breakfast. Is breakfast going to be the best for us? Is dinner? Do we have one night a week where we're all here for dinner? Would Saturday morning work best for us? Is it bedtime? Where is the time during the day where we're here, or if we have more than one kid, or they're on really different schedules. Maybe my high schoolers, we're going to meet on Saturday morning for breakfast once a month. I'm going to take them each out, but my elementary kids, I'm going to still be putting them to bed. So you may even have different intentional time depending on where your kids fall and their ages.
Yeah, and every family can look different, and that's good, that's okay. Not every family has to do the same model. It doesn't work that way. So, and then consider what are good topics to discuss. Again, age of your kids and who your kids are and who your family is. Do you want to find a resource and walk through a book like James together? Or do you want to ask them what are some topics they're interested in? Or parents, grandparents, be listening for questions they have or topics that come up that you could pursue and discuss in those intentional times to really get to what's going on in the heart of our students and the heart of our kids so that we can teach in a relevant way that makes the most sense to them and where they need to hear God's truth most.
Right, so if they're transitioning to a new school, like middle school or high school, you may really want to have some intentional conversations about friendship. Like how do you choose, how do you surround yourself with good friends before you see issues happening? But those might be years where you want to be intentional about that. You might also want to follow the sermon series. We're getting ready to start on 1 Peter and intentionally doing that reading guide so that on Sunday mornings you can talk with your kids. You have more of that commonality to talk with them.
Yeah, the church's reading guide is always a great default. If you can't, if there's not like a specific thing you want to go through, the church reading guide is something great to work through with as a family.
Yeah, so be intentional. Figure out the time and the topic. This week with if you're married, with your spouse. If not, maybe with your life group, talk it over, or grandparent, a friend. But be accountable to yourself. Make sure you make a plan for the time and the topic.
Yeah, and don't worry about failing. You're gonna fail. We all fail. That's okay. Try again. It'll be all right. I have a lot of memories of my family trying to have intentional time, and it failed a lot. But I still remember it, and it still spoke to me that this was something important enough to my parents and that they cared about that we kept trying even though it wasn't perfect. Even though I screwed around and didn't pay attention, I still understood there was value to it even if it wasn't perfect.
Exactly. So we'll see you next week, and we're going to talk about everyday moments and how you can capture those.